I think we're okay now. Sorry for that. So welcome to Conversations with Esther today. So we'll kick off with a word of prayer. Allow me to pray. Father, we thank you for this session. We pray that you will lead us and guide us in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. So maybe for those that are joining us for the very first time, let me just put this up on the screen for a minute. Just a brief on who Conversations with Esther is and what we are doing today. So today I'll just take you through this. I've told Patrick I'm just giving the brief and the intro, and the rest will be his. So World Health Organization defines mental health as a state of mental well-being that enables people to cope with the stresses of life, realize their abilities, learn well and work well, and contribute to their community. I'll not say much about it. Again, World Health Organization says over 50% of the world's population is actively working. And I believe the 50% is in the room, part of it. 15% of working adults live with a mental disorder. 12 billion working days are lost every year to depression and anxiety alone. Depression and anxiety alone cost the global economy $1 trillion each year as a result of reduced productivity. Now, today our conversation is who takes care of the workplace caregivers, the mental wellness of HR professionals. We take care of everyone else, sometimes except ourselves. Are HR professionals neglecting their own mental health? HR professionals are taking on too much as they continually strive to build a resilient workforce. Deprioritizing their own mental health could be dangerous owing to the weighty conversations, observations, and demands that come with the role. Acts of selflessness, wanting to solve other people's problems, and the urge to always want to help are having a detrimental impact on HR's health. So in the room, we have CHRP Kesha Abdullahi. Kesha is the Executive Director of IHRM, that is our professional body. So whenever she's in the room, I keep saying my boss is in the room. Karibu sana Kesha. We have Paul, Chair of INGO Roundtable and Certified Professional Mediator. We have Patrick Nyagudi, Counseling Psychologist, Chiromo Hospital Group. And I realized that Jadida of Chiromo is in the house. Thank you very much. So as we move on, those are our social media handles. You can follow us and chat with us, Conversations with Esther on YouTube. We actually live right now on YouTube. Esther Katiba on LinkedIn, at Conversations with Esther, Instagram, and you can send me an email, info@conversationswithesther.org. Now, I want us to quickly just go to the session. Let me welcome my boss, Kesha Abdullahi. Kesha will set the stage for us because we belong to IHRM. IHRM is our professional body, and we completely believe in the professional body. And I want to start by asking Kesha to share her career journey. Share your career journey all the way to the top and challenges that you may have encountered, including mental stress. You know, we assume that you have no challenges sometimes, but we want to hear your story. Karibu sana, Madam Kesha.
Thank you. Thank you, Esther. I will want, if I was to say, I will share my journey, which spreads across 18 years. I will need like 2 days, but let me just, first of all, thank you, Esther, and your team for this incredible conversation you always have with us, especially the HR professionals. We really appreciate. Like I always tell all HR professionals, there is space for everyone. It's all about how do you take advantage and how do you ensure that you come for your space, and you've really shown. I think we first met last year around the beginning of the year. It's been a whole year since I met you, and I think I can only congratulate you for your journey. Now, let me share my journey. Just like where we all of us start, There are those of us who start their careers not because that is the path they wanted, but because of the situations they are in at the time, they see an opportunity. I trained as a legal secretary, and in my first employment, I was hired as a legal secretary intern. So all those shorthand, the legal terms, the jargons, everything, I was doing the shorthand for those of you who remember. And also I trained using the typewriter. So that's why some of us working with the computer is easy. I think by the time I was finishing with NEC, I was typing 180 words per minute. Long story short, I developed interest in HR. While I already had my undergraduate was in BA, I went straight for a certificate in HR, and I did Masters of Science HR. And that's how I found myself in different HR roles, starting with an assistant role all the way to a regional coordinator role supporting 8 countries. And as of May 2021, I was honored by the Council of IHRM, whereby they gave me the role of the executive director to lead this team. Now, in that journey, I must say that I've had, you see, it's filled with a learning curve. Because remember, I started my journey from uko chini kabisa as a secretary all the way to now being a CEO for the HR body that regulates the HR professional in Kenya. And it's not an easy journey. And you know, when you are a HR professional, you deal with people. And you can imagine everyone has their own interests, their own perception, and you are the gatekeeper. When I say the gatekeeper, you lay the foundation for that organization. And as you go on within your career, you will realize that. So most of the time you will be conflicted because you will carry the burden of others, because you will have to lead restructuring of organization. Remember, when it comes to discipline management, it's on you. When it comes to performance management, it's on you. You're always thinking about other people. And in the process, you neglect yourself. And you find yourself, even as you find someone to help others, to walk with them through the different journeys of their career, you always feel left out. But it's not by design, but it's something that everyone believes HR professionals should do that. So I had my own challenges when it comes to mental stress, but I will always make sure that I navigate through, because I always tell people, you can only help people when you help yourself. So you have to make sure that you are emotionally stable. And if you feel that you're having some mental issues, because it could be fatigue, it could be anxiety, because remember, you're communicating different changes within the organization. All the problem, you are receiving problem from the organization on behalf of the management. You are also getting information from the employees. So you're like in the middle. So you can imagine how that can affect you and the toll it can have on you as an employee, as a HR professional. And whether you like it or not, it affects your life directly. I don't even want to say indirectly, because by the time you realize that you've been swallowed, it's too late. And I'm glad since COVID came, the conversations have shifted, that we can actually speak on things that really tax our mental stability. We can speak about it. Different organizations have come up with the different employee assistance programs. People are even having group therapies when you have things that are affecting you, which has commonality in terms of restructuring, even in terms of exiting the staff. When you have like maybe 2 or more employees exiting, we always say it's not about those who are leaving, it's about those who are staying. So what are you doing for those who are staying? Because our focus is always about Kesha is leaving, so what can we do about it? And when the time is right, of course, there are those personal issues that as Kesha I will carry, and I will want to speak about in terms of how your workplace can affect you. But my one advice to everyone who is on this call or who is going to watch after this, since I can see it's live, please take care of your mental well-being. There is no situation that is worth to suffer for. And you can only help others when you take care of yourself. So to just summarize, as you go the top, it's not easy. And it's very true when they say at the top is very lonely. So if you do not have the right system, if you do not have the right people to support you, if you're not speaking out, then it's easy to be swallowed. And then my advice to anyone who has someone at executive level or someone who has a friend who is at the top, look out for them. One of these days, I will remember the name. Someone called me 3 weeks ago. We belong to the same group. And how I wish if I didn't save her number, unfortunately. And then I said, who is this? She said, Madam Kuresha, I've not heard from you. It's been such a long time. And today I just thought I should check on you. She's not on my friend list, but it touched me differently. She said, we belong to the same HR group. So I just thought I should check on you. You see, it actually put a smile on my face that there's someone actually looking out for me. And believe it or not, at that time, I had issues going through my head. And then that is when I realized I am not alone. There are people out there who care. So please listen before something happens to the person. And then we start asking ourselves, she was always around us, or he was always around us. What happened? It doesn't cost much to say, how are you? How are you feeling? I hope you're okay. Anything that I can help you with. It's not about, do you have a problem? It's about how you would even express your thoughts also matters. So Esther, for me, I had my situations, but if I came out at the top and triumphed, it's because I had a very supportive system with me. I always made sure that before I help others, I am in that state that I can actually help, because the worst you can always do is to lie to yourself. You're not okay and you want to show because you're worried what others around you will think, and then you pretend you're okay. Remember, you only have this one life. And it's not just about you. Just look out and see how many other people you're affecting. It's amazing that when your name is mentioned, how many people who have not met you, but because they've only heard your name, they know who that person is. So as HR professionals, we are at the center of organization. We drive business. And to drive business, you need people. And when you're dealing with people, you will always face some mental health issues. And remember, even the anxiety, the stress, the fatigue, all of it fit into that. And when it builds up, it becomes, we always say, before that balloon bursts, you must have put too much air in it. So before it's too late, try and make sure that you try and reduce the air in it. And that's the simplest way I could finish that. When it comes to you, breathe in, breathe out. Do not bottle up, and you will always triumph. And then remember, HR is a career. It's not it's not an option, because you're holding the organization. Everyone depends on you, whether it's a policy formulation, whether it's guiding the business, whether it's about giving advisory, restructuring, all that. So you have to make sure that you have, if you decide to take this journey, make sure that you plan well, you get the right mentors, you make sure you're being coached by the right people, get that certificate that you feel. Right now, I even see people who are certified, not just the counselors, but certified mental wellness coaches. So it's the world around us is evolving. So get as much information as possible. Go to the internet, see how you can help, how you can even help yourself and other people. So Esther, I would like to hand it back to you, and maybe let me know what else I can add into this journey. But my call to the HR professionals, it starts with you. Mental wellness, do not expect it from anyone else, because you drive those policies. Make sure mental wellness is at the center of it, and speak about it, whether it's in groups or individual, by through being coming up with anonymous system or in confidential systems, or for those who want to speak out, allow them, give them the space. There has to be that safe space within your workplaces. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. And I like that bit. Check on your friends, check on people, be honest with yourself. You drive business, be careful. Check. Don't put too much air in the balloon. I like that one, and Paul is smiling. But I want to ask you, Madam Kuresha, because you're at the top. As a HR person, sometimes our stress comes from the top. Let's be honest. The outbursts of the top. You said it's lonely at the top, and I think that loneliness sometimes spills in the wrong way to the HR professionals. You know, when management doesn't have a place to dump something and dump the stress, they dump it in the HR department. So talk to us about it. How do we shield ourselves from this? Because you don't want to lose your job. Let's be honest, you know? Yes.
Thank you, Esther. That is actually, it's always something that happens to the HR professionals. And like I said, the HR profession has evolved. And the only way you can handle and shield yourself from stress that comes from the top management, first of all, for any initiative that you are driving, make sure that you have backed it with data and it's an evidence-based argument. Anything that you're driving, do your research, have all the facts with you so that no one can question or even have that outburst with you. Secondly, you always need that champion at the top. Remember, you cannot have 5 managers and all of them the same behaviors. So you must have a champion for any agenda you're driving on behalf of the employees. Once you establish those two, you have to make sure that how you communicate is very clear. You could be the HR, the top management, and if you don't even set the boundaries in terms of the professional interactions, that please, because people carry their burdens from home or other places and just want to dump in you. We say it's not about the nail. Remember, for any outburst, there's something behind it. It will not even be about the issue at hand, but there's something that is underlying. And as a HR professional, you're supposed to understand what is it that, how comes this person reacted this way, and why are they burdening me with it? And that now that kicks in, give an ear. You have to make sure that you're engaging in active listening. You need to understand other people's perspective. But all in all, you have to advocate, because remember, as a HR professional, you're also not only the advocate for employees, but also for the agenda you're driving. You have to make sure that for any HR-related issue, it's received with confidence. And you can only do that if you practice what I've just shared. Have a strong case for any agenda you're driving, evidence-based. Have that champion. Make sure that you have clear communication channels, set boundaries, and overall listen. It's key that you don't just write off everyone, but just listen to them, understand them, and see how you can deal or even give them support on how they can handle the issues they're facing. If it's not within you, refer them to the person who can help them. But overall, you have to make sure that you give everyone that they can trust HR and have that confidence within HR. Thank you.
Good. Before I go to Paul, Madam Kuresha, are there platforms provided for HR professionals by IHRM that would shield me as a HR professional from mental abuse in the workplace? You know, we were actually joking with Paul and Patrick before we began and said, I think Chiromo needs to reserve a wing for HR professionals to just be going to sleep and some therapy. I don't know, but are there platforms? What does IHRM say, and what platform has IHRM provided?
Good. Thank you so much. Since 2021, actually, in our conference for 2021, we focused on mental health. And that is a platform whereby we have brought up the issue that who cares for the HR professionals? And I must say, since then, if you look at the different platforms, the different HR professionals driving, being champions of mental health, it has become, if not double, like more people are talking about issues of mental health. And so for us was to give that platform that indeed you can talk about mental wellness and see how HR professionals can be supported. And through that journey, we have signed an MOU with Chiromo, whereby as HR professional, for yourself and also for your organization, they have different packages you can get at a discount by just being a member of IHRM. We also have the same one with even the insurance providers. We brought in a situation whereby we would like anyone who wants to partner with IHRM. The first thing we ask is what's the need for the HR professionals? Because remember, this is a professional body that not only regulates the HR profession, but also we need to look out for your welfare. So I will say that even the different trainings we offer, we have to make sure that not only are we offering free forums, which you get one CPD within the year, but we have a summit on mental wellness just to discuss the issues that the HR professionals face as an individual and what their organizations face and how they can support. And you can always rely on us and reach out to the IHRM, and we will see how we can support you, even coming up with tailor-made trainings for your organizations on matters mental wellness. We always talk with Esther, who is now a champion when it comes to matters mental wellness. That is the brand conversation with Esther. So as HR professionals within the IHRM, and we have not reached the point whereby we can have a dedicated desk for mental wellness. But remember, we cannot do everything. We are helping the HR professionals through collaboration. And that collaboration is through the different providers who support matters mental wellness. And we've made a deliberate move to ensure that we are present in different forums as long as we know it will be beneficial for the HR professionals. So I want to urge all IHRM members to please feel free. I think there is no group that you will not find my number, because I always tell myself it's not about the position I hold, it's about the people I surround myself with. And you all bring peace to my mind, especially when I know you're okay. So please feel free. If you needed some help for your organization, reach out to the different institutions, even reach out to us as IHRM, and we can always guide you and give you what you can do within your organization that can help you thrive. Because remember, Esther talked about the data of WHO. For every shilling you invest on mental health, you triple it. The $1 equals to $4. So you want that peace at your workplace, that conducive work environment whereby everyone mental health or holistic wellness is taken care of. And whether you're in the service industry or profit industry, you will see that peace. You will see that productivity within your organization. And it's all in your mindset. It's all about the different services you provide. It's all about the environment you create. And it's all about telling everyone it's okay not to be okay. Thank you, Esther.
Wow. Wow. I think we are half healed. When the leader cares, then we are half healed. Now, Paul, I want to come to you. I know you hold very many titles, local and international. I want you to give us a brief in 2 minutes. I don't know how you condense your your career journey, but I want you also to point out areas that could be the stressors in a HR professional's life. Karibu, Paul.
Thank you so much, Esther, and I really want to applaud you for really being a champion of wellness. And I've picked so much from you in terms of this. And even in our own NGO, Sako, we dedicated the whole of February for our Wellness Month. And we had platforms and we had speakers to come and sensitize the HR professionals about the importance of wellness. And I think just like Patrick, I think Patrick was the first one to throw me under the bus. I feel like now I'm under the lorry with Esther, although it's a bit calming. Wherever Kesha speaks, she's very calm. And I think, Patrick, I think you have her number. She's very good. I think she's my number one counselor because her calming voice, her calming statements, she never panics. Even when she's really in the middle of intensity, she's still the same person. So just in terms of, especially when you said about the stressors navigating through, and I've worked with Kesha globally also in different countries, and there are also stressors even when you navigate through global, local, and also regional. Some of them would be just navigating issues to do with things which appear to be very easy, like for instance, the legal dilemmas, their legal interpretations. There are things which need legal interpretations, which would be different in different countries. When you're in the US, when you're in South Africa, when you move to the western part of Africa, the legislation is different. So sometimes when it comes to that particular interpretation, it could one be a stressor because it may be obvious in a particular part of the world, and it's not obvious in a particular part of the world. And I'll give you an example. At some point in my profession, I was working in one of the countries in West Africa, and the maternity leave was 2 weeks. So I was trying to explain why that is abnormal. It is not normal, actually, to have 2 weeks as maternity leave, but realized that it was just a matter of discriminating women so that they can leave work and they can replace them with men. So that in itself, when you're a professional, is a stressor because you have really to go there and really showcase and advocate. And Kesha has talked about advocacy. It's the role of a human resource professional to tell people, to tell leaders, it is not okay. It's not ethical. It's not good. So being that particular advocate, so that navigating, especially on issues to do with legal issues. At the moment, we're talking about, for instance, some of the interpretation on taxation issues, new tax issues, the housing levy, for instance, in Kenya. There may be other issues in other countries, for instance, in terms of the currency. You go some of the currency, it is tough. And you have to pay sometimes people in dollars, hard currencies. So that in itself is a stressor because you really have to go to the management and say it's not possible because people are earning less. And when they're earning less, for instance, some of the countries, they're supporting many people, many people. And the moment people are not satisfied, for instance, at workplace, it creates employees who are disengaged. And therefore, it actually affects productivity. It affects business. It affects profits. It affects the vision. It affects the expansion. So that in itself, human resources, as Kesha was saying, is transitioning now in leading, at the center of the business, really informing the leaders that it's the people who matter. If people are disengaged, therefore it becomes difficult. So that's the issue about taxation, about interpretation, about tax regime, about inflation. That in itself also is a stressor, and it could be globally. The other thing perhaps I could say, and I know my 2 minutes are up, would be like, for instance, the different practices in different parts of the world when it comes to interpretation of human resource. As you move from the global north to the global south, sometimes there are also discriminative practices. And therefore, the human resource face becomes more prominent than any other time, saying the fact that maybe it is okay in the global north, then in itself also needs to be advocated also in the global south. And that in itself actually helps. For instance, if, you have only certain talents being given the spaces and platform in other parts of the world, it is very important to do the same thing also in the other parts of the organization. So that stress actually makes the human resource professionals to become more key advocates and to give more voices of people in different parts of the organization. So you can see the emerging face and the role of human resource is quite key going forward. And there's no other time to be as a proud professional like this time in our lives.
Good. Thank you, Paul. Now, I know you're very passionate about mentorship. Now, I wanted to speak to the young HR professional who is on this call and thinking, that if HR professionals need this kind of counseling, I'm not sure I want to stick in this in this profession. So speak to them about the journey and what to expect.
Thank you so much. I started my career as a volunteer without earning. And it's the same case even now. So speaking to the people who want to join this profession now, it's that really, I would say human resources is really fun. If I don't see people around me and I don't enable people, in fact, I count every month, how many people have I impacted in my life? How many people have I mentored in my life? And therefore, at the end, yesterday I got a very interesting message from somebody I was mentoring. And he was telling me, you know what? After going through the journey with you, I've been able to get 2 jobs. I'm joining tomorrow in one of the jobs. That in itself is fulfilling. So human resource gives you an opportunity. You mentor people naturally. You enable them to go into some of the spaces. You give them the confidence that they didn't have. And that's so important. And the other thing also is that in terms of the mentoring world is that you also make a difference in the world. It will be like, for instance, what Kesha said is that you drive data, you come up with analytics. You're able to say, for instance, that WHO has said this. And one of the things I recall is that one of the societies even mentioned, one of the biggest pandemic is loneliness in the world. And that was actually coming. So as a mentor, you're able to tell people the importance of ensuring that there's a hybrid model in how you interact. Don't over-rely on virtue always. Find moments to go to team building, to go to Karura, to go to different spaces. And that's part and parcel of mentoring. The other thing is that as I mentor, one of the things that I love most is, and especially to the young people, is that don't put money first. Don't put money there and say that I want this amount of money. Build your brand, build your journey, give more. If like Simon Sinek says, show up to give, not to get. The moment actually you show up to give, you'll get so much. You'll get some wonderful networking opportunities. And by the time you realize in December, you know so many people who open doors for you. Mentoring is about opening doors, holding the key and letting people getting in there. The moment you get it to human resource, and the human resource, as we know now, is different in the sense that there are so many dockets. Now there's a wellness. There is even something to do with environmental, social, and governance. There is something on coaching. There's something which is coming actually now on life coaching. I remember what we used to do is that if you need a service of somebody technical, you go to an engineer, or you go to a lawyer, or you go to a doctor. Now it's becoming more mandatory that if you need help in career, you go to a career coach, you go to a life coach, you go to a therapist. So the human resource is becoming more fun than ever before, and is actually changing the world in a very, very gentle way.
Fantastic. Before I go to Patrick now, as we said, before we go to the hospital, now I want you to speak to the self-awareness of a HR professional, because I think that's very critical, that HR professionals need to be self-aware, before we even move to self-care and the rest. Speak to the self-awareness of a HR professional. Paul.
Thank you. I think the first thing I would say, it's very important to set your boundaries. There is nobody who has ever outperformed their work that there has never been work. And therefore you have to work for 24 hours. There'll always be work. There are people who will come ahead of you, and perhaps even they'll do better. Set your boundaries. Know when to stop. If you're the one who has to leave work at 10 o'clock every day, there's a problem, because work will never end. You need to really manage your time. Secondly, you must find other things to do. Life is not just about work. There's a piano, there's a jungle, there's gardening to be done, there's a singing to be done, there's karaoke to be done, there's a run to be done in the evening, there's time with your children, there's time with your mother and father, there's time with your cousins. Find moments to do something else apart from just human resource or even work. And remember, the other thing is that as a human resource professional, you are a role model. You're the pillar of integrity. People watch you on what you do. if you're the first person maybe to really be suffocated with work and everything else, and to really to be seen to be overwhelmed, the whole organization will follow suit. You're the heartbeat of the organization. People watch you. So just be careful. And therefore, that means that you need to have a to-do list. And you need to perhaps even start, like, for instance, saying, have it even on a weekly basis. Look at what you need to do, what is urgent and important. And you don't have to do everything. Delegate as much as possible. Make as many people in the organizations to be HR people. Train people to be HR people, even the ones who are not HR people. Train them on policies, train them on processes. The more they do it, you realize they'll even be coming to you actually when the job is actually half done, when it is coming actually to execution. The other thing is also about thinking about mindfulness. Practice mindfulness. And it comes in different ways. It may be just be reading a book. Think about forming communities and sounding boards. I'm very excited. Like, also, I have you, Esther, and I know you always check on me from the time that we met. Go into those particular communities, do something, keep on checking each other. There's something which is very critical, and I've already actually emphasizing even in the circle I am in. Always check the people who you think are the strongest. Allow yourself to be checked by people. Don't think you're very strong. There is nobody who is very, very strong. You are human at the end of the day. Allow people to check on you, not always the other way around. And I think the other thing that I just want to conclude in terms of self-care going forward, speak to a therapist when sometimes it's too much. And now we've been informed that there's a platform there, HR people. Speak to a therapist, speak to a counselor, speak to someone else. Don't think that's a HR professional. You are everything. You are a doctor, you are a counselor. When it is too much and you feel like it's actually you're not getting it right, go and speak to a specialist and a therapist.
Wow. Paul, you know, I can listen to you over and over again. You're a well of knowledge. And as you said, speak to a therapist. You know, as I bring in Patrick, one time Patrick called me and he said, Esther, how are you? So I think I began talking something different, and Patrick said, no, Esther, I asked you as Esther, how are you? Somehow I think he got me at that point where I was so low. And I said, you know, we can get so busy until we forget ourselves. And when you have to define yourself, you're almost defining yourself with your job. I am well, my job is well. And he said, no, I'm asking Esther, not your family, not your work. I'm talking to Esther. And now Patrick works with Chiromo. Patrick, I want to give you the platform. Talk to us about stress management as HR professionals, and especially our own stress that emanates from work. You know, a lot of conversations in the workplace are mental health for employees. Now, today is HR professionals. So speak to us, Patrick. Speak to us. We are in your clinic now.
All right. Thank you, Esther. And thank you, Kesha, for just speaking to people. I'm short of words after Kesha has talked and Paul has talked, but I won't miss something to tell the HRs who are on this call. The first thing that I want to talk about is to ask us about, is stress good or bad? And I want to give people stress here. So if I see your name, I'll call you out. Petronila, is stress good or bad?
It is bad.
It's bad. Kemunto?
Hello?
Yeah, Petronila, I've heard you. Kemunto?
Yes?
Is stress good or bad? I see Edna Rono saying bad. Madam Kesha, is stress good or bad?
So,
Catherine
for
says
me,
bad.
I will say it's how you perceive. It depends on the situation, because there could be those good ones that bring the best out of you, and then of course there's those ones that actually put you in distress. So it depending on the situation and your health situation. Let me add that your physical health of handling it.
Thank you. So there's someone who has really given a definition. That's Grace Maina. She's saying there's eustress and there's distress. Let me talk about distress, which is negative stress. So as HR professionals, I know you hold the organization very dear to yourself, and chances of you breaking down are very, very high. So you can imagine you're carrying the organization home. You can imagine you have your own family issues. So you, as a person, how do you separate work and your family, or your life outside work? So the more we get stressed as professionals, we are likely to escalate to another condition that is called burnout. And later on, maybe after this, after I finish, we'll post a link whereby you will be able to just check on yourself as a person. So as HR professions, we are prone to burnout, something that we call burnout, which is an emotional state that is characterized by prolonged stress. So you are having an emotional state, physical state, mental state, and the qualifying factor here is you feel exhausted. So at the time that I talked to Esther, asking her, how is Esther? And she was like, I'm okay, kazi tu imekuwa mingi. Then I asked, how is Esther specifically? Guess what happened? Akakuwa kameme. If you understand kameme, she talked and talked and talked. So I was like, conversations with Esther. We are talking about mental wellness, but Esther herself, she's not in a good state mentally. So at that particular moment, I told her, Esther, you need to take care of yourself, because I was just noticing some aspects of burnout. So burnout is more associated with workspace. So you can imagine you as an individual, you are dealing with all these other employees within the work. You are the one who is ensuring policies are being followed. You are ensuring there's that interconnection between the employees and the organization. So you're the go-between. So as a person, there are some of the signs that I want to highlight that will tell you that things are not okay. And I'm talking to HR professionals. This is you I'm talking to. I'm not talking to the employees. I'm talking to you. Figure out these 6 signs within your workspace. Number 1, as a person, have you noticed increased absence from work in terms of taking days off or having to call in sick? Yet you're not sick. You're just calling in sick. Leo sikuji kazi, I'm going to see a doctor. Number 2, how disengaged are you? Both with work, with your colleagues, or sometimes your own life in general. So hata umejisahau, hata taking care of yourself becomes an issue. Number 3, you are exhausted mentally, physically, and emotionally. So imagine when you are exhausted, even your ability to focus on little tasks within the work becomes a challenge. Number 4, there's increased mistakes and or accidents within the workplace. So unatembea ushajikua kwa meza, you're carrying maybe your cup of coffee, umeenda umejigonga imekumwagikia, or things that are very trivial, very, very minute accidents. Umeenda umejigonga, umeumia, or umeenda umegonga your colleague, akakuongelesha vibaya. Number 5, withdrawing and isolating. So you are this person who is very extroverted, you like people around you, but now you decide, wewe kaa huko, mimi nitakaa huku. So that is a sign that things are not okay for you as an individual. Number 6, you become highly sensitive to comments. Kitambo, you are like allowing certain comments to just slide. But this time, someone tells you that, I Esther Leoja, you've not ironed your blouse. Then it becomes a totally big issue. These are things that as an individual, you need to look out for within your work environment, because this is a place that you spend technically a third of your life, because you spend around 8 hours within the work. And there's something that Paul has mentioned that has really caught my attention as a therapist. As a HR, you need to know when to stop. You need to know when to stop, because if you don't stop, you are going to break down. And picking you from a point of breakdown, it's like an engine of a car that needs a complete overhaul. It will take time, it will cost you money. So the 6 things that I've talked about, these are work related. Now, let's look at you as a person physically. What will tell us that you have an issue that needs to be sorted out? Physically, you have poor sleep, you have palpitations, so your heart is constantly racing. You have unexplained headaches. You have chest pains, you have muscle cramps, and there's also an increase or the desire of increase of use of substances. Maybe 1 or 2 bottles of alcohol, for you it's okay, but unajipata sasa unakanyagia crate. You've never smoked weed, now you are using weed. That's a red flag. Emotionally, you start feeling guilty. Imefika 5, you're supposed to go home, you feel guilty, you don't want to go home. That's why you leave work at 10 and you report at work at 6 in the morning. You get anger outbursts. There's loss of interest in things that you really liked doing. So the moment you find yourself, you're losing interest in things that you loved doing, that's a sign that things are not okay. Then your esteem just goes low. And as Paul said, that you respect Madame Kuresha's calmness. You can imagine now her calmness is below what you know today. Then there's also that feeling of hopelessness. Hata hii kazi hai make sense, why should I even go? Then mentally or psychologically, you have impaired concentration. Umegusa hii umeacha, umegusa hii nyingine umeacha. You are supposed to serve someone with a show cause letter, umesahau. So mentally, there is that impairment. Then you are also very forgetful. You're holding a pen on your hand, then you're looking for it. You're holding your car keys, then you're like, where did I put them? Then your attention span is low. As adults, we are allowed to concentrate 3 straight hours with short breaks here and there. But even concentrating for 1 hour becomes an issue. Then you have negative thoughts about yourself and others. So when it gets to negative thoughts, you might even think of harming yourself or even harming others. So we as HR, we are not immune to these signs. Then as a HR, remember, you make decisions, you make policies. Imagine when you're mentally unstable, your decision-making prowess is challenged. So you might make a very poor decision that, as Paul said earlier on, affects someone else's well-being. You become very pessimistic, constantly seeing the glass half empty. rather than seeing it half full. So these are signs that we need to watch out, not in the people that we are overlooking or the people that we are, quote unquote, we are policing. These are things that we need to look at ourselves, so that by the time you're going to talk to someone, maybe on a disciplinary aspect, you've asked yourself, is this person okay? Because the moment you know that you're not okay, you put yourself into the other person's shoe, something that we call empathy rather than sympathy. So when you empathize, you'll be able to say that, okay, this one does not require disciplinary. This person, I need to refer them either to a therapist, or I refer them to the EAP, the Employee Assisted Program. And the moment you're sending someone to the EAP, it's not that you're punishing them. You want the best for them. Allow me to touch on how do we take care of ourselves. Even though, Paul, you've talked about it, now I need to beef it up from a psychologist's point of view. So self-care is essential in taking care of issues, burnout or stress, because our research tells us that stress is the precursor to all mental illnesses. The data that Esther has given is very key. We lose 60 working days for every one person that struggles with depression. So you can imagine if an organization has like, let's say even 10 employees, and all of them are struggling with depression, how many days are we going to lose? We are going to lose 600 days just because of depression. But the moment we have a mentally or issues depression are taken care of, we'll only lose a day. So you do the math. And the data that Esther shared, that we are losing like $1 trillion per year just because of depression and anxiety. So you can imagine if this money was put somewhere else. So self-care is very key. And I will talk about around 4 or 5 areas of self-care as HR professions that we need to take care of. Number 1, take care of your emotions. So self-care, emotional self-care, these are activities that are geared towards helping you connect and process your own emotions as a HR. So the moment you are able to process your own emotions, you are able to connect with your emotions, something that we call emotional intelligence, then you're good to go. Some of the examples that will help you to be able to deal with emotional self-care include therapy and journaling. Very, very key. Number 2, practical self-care. These are tasks that you complete that will fulfill the core aspect of your life in order to reduce on any other negative pressure. You can imagine you have deadlines to meet. The deadline is tomorrow. Haujaanza hata hiyo jukumu. So when you're talking about practical self-care is just prioritizing, as Paul said, what is important, what is urgent, what can be delegated, what can be shelved. So some of the practical aspects will be like creating a budget. You might be a HR, but you know every other person's payslip, how it is, how thin it is, or how fat it is. But how do you take care of your own budget as a HR? Taking professional development courses. At times, what nasema tumefika as HR, I need not to develop more. It's good that we have Madam Kuresha, who is the director at IHRM, whereby you are encouraged to develop yourself more. So it's not all about HR. Can you learn maybe something else outside HR? The other thing is organizing your space is very key. So you can imagine as a HR, you want things to be done in a particular order, because this is the procedure that is supposed to be followed. But back at your place at home, there is no procedure. So the SOP that you enforce at work, can you also enforce it at your home? Number 3 is something that we call physical self-care. These are activities that are geared towards improving your physical health. There's a correlation between physical health and mental health. So the moment you neglect your physical health, trust you me, your mental health will go down. The moment you neglect your mental health, your physical health will also go down. So taking a good balanced diet will take care of that. Regular exercise, it's not all time work. I think Mzungu alisema, all work without play made John a dull boy. So exercise is key, and there's this challenge that Esther has, the 5-kilometer daily walk. So I encourage most of us on this call that we need to join that. Getting quality sleep. And quality sleep is quality sleep. Si kuingia kwa kitanda, turn toss. Quality sleep is when your mind now goes quiet and you get to that state of deep sleep. When you wake up, you feel well rested. The moment when you wake up and you still feel tired, start questioning the quality of sleep you've gotten. Staying hydrated. I think this is something that even currently the WHO is really encouraging people to stay hydrated because of the excessive heat. So the moment you don't hydrate, your body will give you signs that things are not okay. Then taking care of your mental, the other aspect is mental self-care. Activities that will stimulate your mind to be more sharp and increase your intellect. Someone said that if you want to hide something from an African, put it in a book. I disagree with that. Africans or Kenyans, we are avid readers. So let us stimulate our minds through reading books that will really stimulate our minds. Having activities like solving puzzles, the Sudoku, the crosswords, the code words, something that is going to really stimulate your head or your mind outside Choco's letters, fire hire. Let us try things that are outside the HR profession. The last bit of self-care is social self-care. These are activities that nurture and deepen relationships. Madam Kuresha said, the higher you go, the lonelier it gets. Trust you me, it gets lonely at the top. So can you form good social capital even at the top? And one thing that I've learned or that I've had concerning HR professionals, they are the most hated. And we were having this conversation with Paul earlier on. Kuna watu wakiona simu ya HR already wanaanza kujiuliza, what have I done? Hata kama tu ni ile salamu tu. So let us form good social connections that will help us to be able to talk, that will make us able to share our deepest issues. Because at times our family might not be willing to listen to our issues there, but a friend will be able to listen to you. Hata kama hata kupea suluhu, at least that offloading is very, very key. So I will really encourage us as people in the HR profession to constantly check on ourselves, rate yourself, ask yourself, am I okay? You can't lie to yourself. I think there are two people that you can't lie to, yourself and God. The moment your body tells you that things are not okay, that is the moment for you to seek help. And we'll do it practically here, right now. Just check your phone battery balance. So I'm seeing Esther is smiling because najua inaweza kuwa iko kwa power bank. So the efforts that we put to ensure that our phones don't power off is the same effort I'm asking of us to put so that we don't power off as people in the HR profession. Because we are carrying a heavy load. We are carrying policies that will affect generations. Because the moment you ask this person who is maybe at their prime that wewe nenda nyumbani because you've become a deserter or you've been habitually absent or your behavior has become unbecoming, you go home. You are affecting generations. So figure out this person that is having this issue, are they okay mentally? So where can you get help? It's good that Madam Kuresha has said that there's an MOU between Chiromo Hospital Group and the Institute of Human Resource Management. Make use of that. Walk into any branch, because I know I'm speaking to people across the country. Walk to any branch. You'll get a psychologist at your disposal. If things have gone completely south, there's a psychiatrist on board. So you will get help as soon as you just check in to any of the branches. There are 4 in Nairobi. There's 1 in Mombasa. No, there are 5 in Nairobi. There's an outpatient at Upper Hill. So walk into any. If you can't walk into any, then I will, on the chat, I hope Jedida is listening. She could put our toll-free number that we can call. And that number is manned by a psychologist. So anytime you feel like you've reached the end of your tether, just call. Someone is ready to listen to you and to help debrief you at that particular moment until you are able to get in-depth help at maybe at a face-to-face level. So as I conclude, the organizations are at your hands, but I want to quote Honorable Edan Duale. Alisema, hii kazi si ya nani? Esther utaimalizia. So thank you very much for listening. Back to you, Esther.
Wow, what a way to finish. Thank you, thank you. I see Paul and Madam Kuresha are smiling, and I see it's 8:15, and interesting, we are still quite a number, 70 and above. But I want to go to just check through the comments, maybe, before I can give each of you a moment to give us a parting shot. Oscar is a very good friend of mine, and thanks, Oscar, for joining. He says HR are seen as those who fire people. How are they dealing with that? How are they correcting this perception so that they are also seen as recruiters? This has serious mental health connotations. As Oscar Milestones Consultants. I think I'll throw that one to Paul. There's another one here. What steps can organizations take to create a more supportive and inclusive environment for HR professionals, mental health? Maybe Kuresha could help us with that. I'm just running through them so that we finish in the next few minutes. I see someone who said a little stress is okay, but extreme is dangerous. True, Maxine. I just want to check through. I think that's it for now. Yeah, the higher you go, the lonelier it becomes. Strange. Yeah, so maybe Paul, and then we can have Madam Kuresha before we come back for a parting shot from each of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Esther. Just a couple of things. One it's about how do you also, as HR professionals, it's about enriching the entire life cycle of an employee. Because you need to remember also you're also an employee, just like all of them, because sometimes I think there's a danger of HR professionals because you are the custodian of policies, processes, and all that. If you're not careful, also power can get into your head, and you may think perhaps you're better than them. So one of the things is just to enrich the life cycle of all these people. And a couple of things before, so that we don't keep on thinking about HR just fires. I'm hardly seen to be like that. I think the issue is about having regular conversation with people. People need to see you as a friend. The more you become a friend of people, the more they'll be reaching out to you. You realize that some of us as HR professionals, we hold a lot of secrets. We hold a lot of confidential stuff. I remember there was a time that I stopped murder from happening. A lady came to my office and she told me, and by then I was working in a bank, and she told me that today I'll go and murder my husband. And I really had to really come and really intervene, and I stopped it. And I held it in confidence, but I didn't allow that lady to go home. I had to get her sister to come and pick her from my office, and the rest was history. There was counseling and many things which are done. We are the people who actually have to intervene. So regular conversation with people, reaching out, sometimes even without necessarily speaking about work. It may be just calling to say hi. I haven't, and this is something I do a lot to all the organizations that I've worked. Sometimes I just write a message on Slack and it's like, hi, how are you? I'm just writing to check on you. There's always a spark of interest and enthusiasm. The other thing is also enable people, construct their lives so that it's not about performance improvement plan. And in most cases, make sure that there are no surprises when it comes, unless really someone, there are those particular situations whereby someone really has committed something really, really bad, but prevent as much as possible. Work out with those people. In most cases, I've realized there are people who resign even before they're fired. They're like, this is not my space. This is not where I belong. And they'll even come to you and say, please help me, mentor me, work with me, even during exit. I've participated in some of those particular conversations. Make the offboard very, very amicable. You never know where you're going to meet people. They can come as a donor, someone who's going to fund the organization, become your strategic business partner. Never dismiss people. Never think that there's someone who is not as good as they are. Maybe they belong somewhere else. The other thing is about facilitate people even to go to other spaces, into other departments, by picking different skills, by doing job shadowing, job rotation, and actually you can help them to go to. I've been able to help even people to go to different departments, even from human resource to marketing and other particular places. And that helps in terms of placing people into different lines. Realize in my response, I never mentioned about firing. Firing should be the last resort completely. Help people, construct them, enable them.
Wow. Thank you, Paul. I request that I know, Madam Kuresha, I know
Yes,
I've given you.
I'm here.
I know I've given you that question, but I want to add one more. I'm seeing one here
Okay.
that I think you should you should handle from SN. How to deal with a toxic, narcissistic boss, CEO, who creates rift or conflicts between staff and HR by portraying himself as good as and HR as bad. Yet its force matters. He tells it's false. I think he falsifies issues. That's what the person meant. So how do you deal with such a toxic boss?
Thank you so much. I have switched off my video to protect a minor. I know this is being recorded, so I apologize first for not. I always like when I speak, it will be good if you saw me, but I hope you can hear me. I think we have those people very common within our spaces. And as a HR professional, it's always good to always document those instances. Because remember, anything that makes anyone uncomfortable borders to someone to be taken through the disciplinary process, or even to be talked to on what is an expected behavior within the organization. So it's always good to document And then within the organization, you have to make, if it's someone that you cannot speak to directly, look for someone you feel that this is someone that can actually manage this conflict. Because remember, most of the time it's the HR who is expected to manage the conflict. But in this case, find a senior person who can come in and ensure that they can actually come in and have a conversation if it's something that can be stopped. And if you feel that situation is not improving, please do not shy away from using the formal channels to ensure that you actually escalate the issues at hand. Because it's always key that if someone does not know what is ethically accepted within an organization, because remember, these behaviors are interlinked, yeah? And nobody just wakes up. It doesn't, because you have more responsibility within the organization and you've earned a leadership role, that does not give you the right to abuse and make the environment unfavorable for anyone else. And I'm sure if that is handled objectively, and if you have policies in place that they are, I like what different organizations are doing right now. Like in my former employer, they have a whole unit that deals with duty of care. And now they're not just looking within the mental health, but they're looking even the physical health. And they're very keen on who is actually, what kind of environment that they're providing as an employer so that the organization can thrive. And trust me, when you put policies in place, when you try to mediate on issues, and when you call out an issue as it is, objectively, because that is all you need. But I can tell you, toxic bosses exist. But remember, it may not be about you. They are dealing with their own issues. Just in short, try to document, ensure you have policies in place to address such issues. Try to solve it informally by bringing in someone else to mediate that conversation with the boss if possible. If not, I'm sure there are structures, whether it's the board or where the senior management committee who handles such things, and take them through that, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable within the organization. Of course, if you're working with a private company and maybe this is the owner of the business, your only alibi could be set policies, set targets, and setting that boundary that watch out, this is what we've set and this is how we plan to achieve, and this is the space we would like to create. It's all about managing people. It's all about managing emotions, because remember, it's not just about your emotions, it's about even supporting them to go through their own emotions. Thank you, Esther. And if I could pick the next question, if you allow me.
Yes.
On the issues around what can organizations do to support mental wellness within, what HR can do to support mental wellness within the organization. I hope I got that question correct, yeah? As HR professional, you need to first of all promote work-life integration. It's not about, you can't have a balanced life, okay? Encourage the employees to have a healthy integration between their work responsibility and personal life, yeah? You have to make sure that you emphasize for them to understand that if they do this and prioritize the work, as Patrick has said, remember, ikazi haishi. There was one time, one of my boss told me this organization started, it existed since 1933. So I could not achieve everything by working 8 to 8. Number 2, make sure you have mental health resources in place. You have to be deliberate. Remember, you have medical insurances. Look for that clause. Do they provide counseling services? And then within the organization, have the mental health days, yeah? You can always create activities within your own organization. Talk to the different institutions that provide therapy. Have group therapies together. Make sure you have a resource center whereby you're providing people on matters, mental health, and where they can seek help if they need that support. Be deliberate and ensure that you're also introducing capacity building topics around mental health. then it's very key that you have champions within your organization. Train people to be psychosocial support aides. Let them be the champions within the organization so that if they see anyone who needs help, they know where they can seek that help. And then also ensure that within, because remember, Patrick has told us, we cannot have mental health if we do not have physical health. So also encourage that people are taking care of themselves physically. They make sure they do their annual checkups. You have to come up, if you can afford, even come up with a gym membership, or even the walks that you can go as an organization together to just even build that team. Then if there is one thing that COVID has taught us, it's no longer about the workspace, the workplace. The workplace has become a workspace. So allow for flexible working arrangements. Try and see who fits where and see how those different things benefit. Within the organization also, you can think of providing safe spaces whereby employees can actually enjoy private time together, because you can think through, make sure it's very conducive. So the list could go on and on, but most importantly, please make sure within your organization that you have role clarity. We always make a mistake of not defining the roles, and then you end up overburdening the employees, and this can actually lead to stress and burnout, and it not only affects them, their mental health, but it also affects the organization's overall productivity. Finally, make sure you have feedback mechanism in place whereby employees can actually voice their concerns, suggest improvements, and you should be able to reciprocate for the same, so that in the next time when they're giving feedback, they can actually say positively that the work culture has changed, we feel safe, and we realize that the organization cares for us. Remember, we will not have organizations if we did not have people. And for us to have organization, we must be deliberate and take care of our people. And only then will you have a more positive, healthy, productive organization, that the culture is not only acceptable for those who are employed, but even attract for those you intend to hire in the future. Thank you, Esther.
Wow, it's very clear that Madam Kuresha is passionate about the mental wellness of HR professionals. Thank you very much. Now, I just want to go through this comment. Jane says, wow, very insightful. Thanks, Esther and all the panelists. The other one is Grace, insightful forum, Esther and all panelists. Understanding our biological clock is crucial. Occasionally, I opt for a retreat to reconnect, silence in solitude. I am glad for this session. Kindly have more. That is SN. Sabina, an insightful session. Ryan Musioki says, such an insightful session. We definitely need more HR professionals who have a good balance of being human and being professional. A very insightful session, and glad to have joined this. Now, as we close, keep an eye on the chat box. We shared the link for self-assessment. That is from Chiromo. And I want to say, I know Patrick may have forgotten this assessment is anonymous. You don't have to put your name. You just need to check on that. Maybe he'll comment as he gives his parting shot. I don't know whether Madam Kuresha, you want to go first in your parting shot, then we can have Paul and we close with Patrick. Just a minute each.
Thank you so much, Esther. I, first of all, would like to take this opportunity, conversation with Esther, for organizing this timely discussion. It's welcome, and also for everyone who has joined in to listen in. I hope that you will go back and implement, not only for your own self, but also for the organizations that you work in. As HR professional and at IHRM, on behalf of the council, I appreciate each and every one of you, and we will make sure that we are deliberate on how we handle matters HR, and we will be your champions. We will drive the agenda on behalf of the HR professionals in this country, and you can always count on us. Please feel free. Anyone who has any ideas, any way we can help the HR professionals, not only to triumph in their work, but support their different organizations, we welcome you. And to everyone who is watching or who has joined, take care of yourself. It's key. You will not be helpful to anyone if you've not taken care of yourself. Do not be afraid to be selfish, to put yourself first. Only then can you come back to the arena and say, now I'm ready to support the rest. It doesn't matter how small your organization is. Remember, those small organizations make this country of ours. Go ahead also and go beyond your organizations. We have different issues of mental wellness facing our people as HR professionals. Let's continue volunteering. Let's go back to our communities, to the schools, to the people who brought us to these beautiful towns, and make sure that they're also taken care of. Because I feel we've neglected our roles, that we feel this is a burden that not one person can carry. And we are the people's people. We are trained to take care of people. Let's not forget to take care of ourselves and also continue taking care of others. Thank you, Esther, and good job.
Thank you, Madam Kuresha. Asante sana. Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you. Wow, a short time that we had. I just want to really amplify the importance of self-care for human resource professionals. Remember, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So you need really to exercise on self-awareness. And I think self-care has been amplified today. Self-care is giving the world the best of you, not what remains of you. Be at the center stage of when you have the talking stick to talk about self-care, please talk about it. And one of the things I may just also want to request, and I'm sure this particular call I'll be able to align, and the fact that already we've started talking about 2024, and I think conversation with Esther is actually part of his headlines, is about wellness. In the NGO circle, it's the same thing. It's about wellness, and especially post-COVID. So one of the things perhaps we could even have more conversation is even within Transcend, which is one of the platforms for mentoring people. So as you enter into the HR professional, and still even you're a member of the human resource professional, it could be one of the key areas that we could perhaps champion in putting as a theme. And I'm sure Madam Kesha is here listening to the importance of ensuring that also we have that as a serious theme within mentoring. So thank you so much, Esther, for really bringing this one into perspective. We want to hear more of this, and it needs, I know we talk so much about physical fitness, a lot of this, but we want to ensure that actually it's also an integral part of our lives. Human resource practitioners, please set your boundaries. You are the center stage of the organizations. You are at the arena, at the center of this particular arena. You are the people that people are trusting with you most with their lives. Go there without burnout and fatigue. Go yonder and shine. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Madam Kuresha. Now, I've seen someone asking for the recording. We are live on our YouTube, Conversations with Esther Katiba, so you can go there. And if you want to chat with me, feel free to get me on LinkedIn, Esther Katiba. I will ask actually Paul and Madam Kuresha to share their links in the chat so that you can also reach out to them. Let's have Patrick. Parting shots.
All right. Thank you, Madam Esther. Now, on the assessment, I'll say that we need to do it regularly, the same way that we do our blood sugars or we do hypertensive checks. So even self-assessment on mental wellness is key. And I want to finish with something that really struck me. I think it was a caption on NTV, or Dr. Frank Njenga made a comment somewhere. He said, or someone said, I don't know exactly who said it, that we need to make peace with the rest before we rest in peace. Thank you.
Wow. Paul, I can see you say, wow. Thank you, everyone. Special thanks to Madam Kuresha, Paul and Patrick, Chiromo, INGO, IHRM. We appreciate you. HR professionals, self-care is not selfish. Take care of yourself. Yes, I see Paul has shared his link. So self-care is not selfish. Take care of yourself as you take care of others. Asanteni sana. God bless you and have a good night. Bye-bye.